Hey, welcome back to our channel. Thank you very much for the response that we got for our last video.
You got really.
Well, I got really yeah, this is Diana. He was with me on our first video, which still explains a lot when it comes to stiff person syndrome. And if you want to follow that first video for all the symptoms, that's the video that you want to engage with. It's a little bit long, but I think we did a pretty good job of describing all the symptoms. I said that I really want National Health Service to put the description of the illness on their website because they refused to do that once. And I just feel like I also owe you some kind of explanation why this is so important. And by that I mean I have to tell you the story how I got diagnosed and how difficult it was for me, and how normally it's probably even more difficult for people who don't pick these things up that quickly or don't have such quick onset as I had. So in this video we're going to talk about NHS, National Health Service, and we're not going to shit on it all the time, and we're not going to praise it all the time. We want this to still for the people to enjoy National Health Service as it is, which is free at the point of use, but we don't feel it's a little bit broken at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's been broken for a long time. It's been getting steadily worse. Part of that's due to maybe underfunding, but I think a lot of it's due to inefficiencies in the system and not recognizing things when they should be recognized. That's certainly our experience.
Yeah.
Almost at every point of the diagnosis, I think.
Yeah, and if you had an amazing service from them, then that's your prerogative. Ours was slightly different, and I think it's important because nowadays, if you just say something bad, people are very defensive, and they say like, also you want NHS to die. Basically, you just want this to be this American system, and you want people to go bankrupt. Well, no. So you want people to die? Well, no, absolutely no. I don't want people to die. However, I, unlike some other people, acknowledge that people do die, and there are lots of people in the situation dying needlessly on NHS. There was a scandal lately at Shrewsbury, yeah, and there are lots of families in around 2000, I think they identified, were with over 200 preventable deaths,
Babies and
babies
mothers.
and 9 mothers. That's the cases that we know about. 40 years, there are families that there are people who were asking for answers and they never get it. There are tragedies. So we should be critical when it comes to NHS, and we should be open to talking how to improve it. And in efficiency and in effectiveness, as Leon said, not only actually puts NHS in a position that they acquire extra costs, but also behind these families, the tragedies that behind every single patient, there's a story there.
But even if it's not a tragedy, in all cases, it's still additional pain that someone has to suffer unnecessarily. It's very important to criticize it when necessary. Otherwise, they will never change. If they don't know that they're making mistakes, then how can they improve?
Yeah. And I don't think just throwing money at it and thinking like, oh, it's going to magically improve is the solution to it. Let's just get on with it. And first of all, I would like to say that the first problem is like not listening. Not listening is going to be like common theme, and that's probably like partially because I'm a woman. Again, before you get really defensive, that's actually proven by statistics that women are
less likely to be listened to or trusted.
Yeah, we are more like hysterical beings. Like actually hysteria is a thing that used to be diagnosed in the past. So
On the point that doctors don't listen as well, I think they always think that they're going to be right. They don't think that they don't treat patients with enough respect to think that they might know more about their situation than the doctors do.
oh yeah, like what does that meme say? Like, don't confuse your 10 minutes of googling with my like 10 years of medical training. Like, you don't confuse your medical training with me living every day with with this condition is the response. But it's very fitting in this scenario when the disorder is so rare, that the fact that like there has to be mutual understanding, has to be mutual listening. Which, by the way, I would like to point out that I've got a very good general practitioner at the moment, just like family doctor.
Very good, very helpful.
Yeah,
very understanding.
he listens a lot to everything that I'm saying. Is very, very understanding. So I'm in a good spot at the moment. But when my symptoms started, and again, if you want to know a little bit more about the symptoms, they are on the first video. Initially, I saw the nurse in our surgery, and she said like, oh, it's just a bad back. Mind you, that was 2017. I was 33. And I thought like, yeah, maybe I got a little bit of bad back, even though the symptoms were really, really weird, because I felt like I was locked in place rather than having it just like, oh, it hurts me a little bit, But I said like, oh, it's a bad back, every single like bad back like just resolve itself in 6 weeks. So if it doesn't come back to us, we went to Poland at the time where my family lives. I had lots of issues during the journey. I already recognized that stress is not helping me, and I'm really scared of flying. And I landed in Poland. I was already like advanced. It was already so much worse than even like getting out of the house in England. So my parents booked me appointments with orthopedics and an X-ray. And I had an X-ray. I had 2 appointments. The first one obviously was actually referring me to an X-ray. The second one was actually reviewing the X-ray and decided that there's nothing there. I have to go to MRI because he's an orthopedic, so I should probably see a neurologist next. So they said at the time that I should stay in Poland and basically had it checked out. But because the time was limited, we were on holiday for just like 10 days, was it?
Something like that.
And most of it I spent in bed and with doctors. We decided that we'd be coming back to England. At which point I stopped working. I mean, I was on a sick leave. I couldn't go back to work at that point.
Everyone at work, everyone was asking at work, how's she doing? What can we do? And people were advising to go see a chiropractor. So we tried that, and it didn't go too well.
One day I was saying like chiropractors are good, and I was saying like, no, chiropractors are not good, don't go to them. So I gave in finally, but I decided to not say anything about seeing specialists, and actually observing chiropractor arriving at the diagnosis very quickly without any equipment, just her hands, which was kind of amusing. If I wasn't in such a bad shape, it would be amusing. Then we saw various GPs at the surgery, and we're always going to the same surgery but seeing different doctors. So the first doctor that I saw, he prescribed me diazepam. We got this silly system in England when you are prescribed, rather than a box of pills, you prescribe
just a certain amount. I think you were given like 10 pills or something. Or was it even 5?
I don't even remember how many pills, but there was no leaflet in the box. Which is kind of silly when you consider this is regulated drug, no leaflet. And I was like very scared of drugs at that time, so I decided to read what the hell is diazepam. I never had that before, and I came across this thing, stiff person syndrome, and I started reading about it, and I was thinking like, everything I'm reading is just fits. And I said to Dion, I think I've got stiff person syndrome. So he started reading what it was, and you said at the time that, well, I was cuckoo a little bit, didn't I?
I didn't say that, but I thought it was a bit wild to think that you had that, considering it only affected 1 in a million people.
He talked me out of pursuing this diagnosis, so I just said like, no, I don't have stiff person syndrome. I mean, it's a little bit outlandish to claim that. It's just probably something else. So that was the first thing that I actually arrived to this diagnosis very quickly. But it's it was his fault that I didn't stick to it. So then we saw various doctors, and lots of them were saying,
You were saying stiffness, and they were hearing pain.
they were asking me what was helping, and I was saying diazepam. And one day we went to the doctor, said that no more diazepam, and I was like, okay. And what did he
He said
say?
it's obviously not curing you, so there's no point to give you it anymore.
Yeah, like I never heard of diabetes type 1 to be cured by insulin, so maybe we should just stop giving it to people. It's not curing them, is it? It was very annoying because I said to him, because I said like, it really makes me feel better, and he said like, yeah, obviously you fall asleep so it makes you feel better. And I was like trying to say like, no, it doesn't actually, it doesn't make me fall asleep. That's the thing, it makes me actually more awake, if anything, more animated. But he didn't listen.
No, he didn't care, but we later found out that it's his mission to get people off of medications. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
we read his bio on the website, and
It's very dangerous to have someone like that working in a GP surgery when they already have prejudice against medications that could be life-saving.
imagine a doctor having prejudice against medication, and that he took me off it, and that was just not only stupid but so dangerous, because getting a patient like me off diazepam, which was the
It
only
actually
thing.
caused a spiral downwards. The symptoms got worse from that point.
Yeah, and I wasn't even like taking a lot of it because I'm missing these neurotransmitters that diazepam was helping with. So when he took me off it, it's just I just couldn't control my body, and it took me around a month to even start functioning again. And when I say start functioning, I mean
Be able to get out of bed.
Be able to get out of bed without any help. I mean, he did a lot of damage. I never actually got to the point before that I had before. I had to start using wheelchair on a regular basis at that point, and that was a red flag that he missed. That's exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being inefficient and not effective, because he took me off diazepam. But if he had listened to the fact that diazepam doesn't make me sleepy,
well, not just that, the diazepam was the only thing that was helping.
yes, but like he could say like, oh, of course, he said, of course it's helping because you fall asleep, and I was trying to argue this point, but he turned away from me at that point, and he wasn't listening, and that is a red flag. I think if diazepam doesn't make you feel sleepy and it doesn't make you feel drowsy or anything, it just makes you feel like your back is normal and you feel normal. I think that's a red flag. And he should know that as a doctor. The fact that he didn't even listen, he didn't want to listen. So then we saw another doctor, and she decided that I was low on vitamin D.
She didn't decide. A blood test confirmed that you were low on vitamin D. But...
And then she decided, and she said like that.
Well, she'd seen cases where low vitamin D could cause spasms, and so she was convinced that this is something we had to address.
Yeah.
So you were put on high doses of vitamin D for
6 weeks.
Yeah.
I took all the doses, and I actually felt worse at the end. So at some point we also went to A&E because I felt so horrible during the night. Yeah, and I was just laying there, and doctor came over and examined me and said that I was okay. It's just something between me and my physiotherapist to resolve, and I was fine to go home. I realized now that I was being treated as a drug-seeking patient at the time. It was Saturday.
I mean, if someone comes in and says diazepam is the only thing that's helping, the initial thought from healthcare providers here is that you're seeking diazepam because you're addicted, but that wasn't the case at all, and we didn't even understand that could have been the case.
Yeah. I self-referred to see an NHS physiotherapist at the time, and they referred me to MRI. The picture from MRI was useless because I was moving in MRI machine so much, and I noticed at the MRI notes. There was
And in the notes, it said that
I had pain.
yeah, you had pain, so you couldn't stay still, but that
Yeah.
wasn't the case.
If someone had asked me at the time why I couldn't stay still, I would tell them that it was because I had ridiculous starter reflex at the time. So every time the machine makes noise, and MRI, I was jumping. I was basically just like jump start. Someone was jump starting
Yeah,
me,
just send you into spasm.
sending me into spasm. Yeah, and no one actually they just assumed I was in pain, so that's why things they couldn't read images, which is another red flag, by the way. If someone can't stay still, just ask them why. Because I assumed that they knew, and they assumed something completely different. They assumed that they knew.
Yeah, they assumed they knew. This is the problem at multiple points. It's everyone assumes they know what you're talking about instead of actually listening to what you're saying, or even asking you.
Yeah. And then I saw a physio as a follow-up. I couldn't get out of my wheelchair and walk. So I just started crying because she was asking me, like, you can do that, you can do that. And I really couldn't. I couldn't physically get myself from the wheelchair. I was so stiff. I was just basically stuck in that wheelchair. And then she decided that I've got...
Because you obviously have anxiety.
Yeah. And I really don't. I never suffered from anxiety in my life. Anyone who knows me in personal life, Dion is laughing. There's nothing funny about having anxiety. He's got anxiety, by the way, in case you didn't notice.
Yeah, I would be the one with anxiety.
Yeah. If you know me in real life, I'm like anything but anxious when it comes to talking to people and stuff. So for me, the fact that she said, like, oh, you've got anxiety, I cried because I couldn't even talk because everything was just spasming. And she gave me a leaflet just called like Steps to Wellbeing. So basically called these people for general anxiety disorder. And I left, and I was dismissed opportunity again. And then I came across, I was thinking, God, I'm not getting anywhere with these people. So I came across the blog from a woman who had similar issues to me. And I started reading it, and I was thinking, like, yeah, that's what I've got. And she had stiff person syndrome. And I got onto stiff person syndrome again. And I was thinking, like, this time I'm going to prove everyone that I've got stiff person syndrome. And I started with Dion. So in order to prove that, I went through Liz's blog. It took me a long time just to fish out like information that or medical information, and I just put them together and I gave it to Dia, and I said, like, you tell me that I don't have that they are not my symptoms. And what did you say at the time?
Yeah, I couldn't. The similarities were too close to deny. It was obviously that's what it was at the time.
Yeah. So I knew already I had stiff person syndrome. So these things were happening, and I went back to GP. She gave us referral to a neurologist. It's the same one who had this idea about.
But she only gave us the referral to neurologist because we made it fit. We made the symptoms fit MS.
Yes, I lied. Okay, to me. I lied about symptoms to fit MS. This is what I had to do because we're really, really sure it's stiff person syndrome. I lied so I could see neurologist, and I said that my legs are numb, and then she was worried. So she prescribed gabapentin at that time.
Yeah, well, that's only because I asked what we're going to do in the meantime, because, I mean, she gave the referral, but then it would have been months wait from that point to actually see anyone. So I asked, what can we do in the meantime? And she said, okay, I'll give you gabapentin because that can help with neuropathic pain, which is what MS causes.
Yeah, and I felt better after gabapentin because gabapentin is
GABAergic drug.
GABAergic drug, yeah. And I had a little bit of diazepam left, so I took gabapentin and diazepam, and I was like, wow, I feel like I could do stuff again, you know, for the first time in many, many months. But that wore off very quickly. So I couldn't even wait for neurologist because the wait was too.
It would have been 3 months.
Yeah, so I decided to go
privately.
privately.
But we had to get a private GP first to be able to get the referral to see a private neurologist.
And she still was pointing me, even though she was general practitioner. First question was whether I tried ibuprofen. No, miss. I was just laying in bed, like, now it was.
But she didn't put up much of a fight. She was just asking.
No, I mean, we paid her a lot of money to not put up the fight, to be honest.
But we've seen, you've had an MRI done, you've had X-ray done, and nothing's like functionally your spine is absolutely fine. So.
That is true what you're saying, that we told her everything, but it's also true that we went to a private GP, so there would be like longer visits so I can explain everything, and also not combative one who's going to work against me but who actually works with me. So
I think this is a problem with the NHS. It's the GPs are like gatekeepers. They won't instantly refer you to any specialist. They have to try out many other things first, and it's just months of waiting and trying things that just never work. And before they will actually send you to someone who can really help you.
And while they do that, they also don't listen to you. I went to a neurologist. We had to wait a little bit, and
it wasn't too long. I think it was about a month because he was on holiday.
He was on holiday, yeah. We were quite unlucky. But once we went there, and he could observe me clinically, and I gave him 2 pages on A4 of what was happening to me during the 6 months. And he was like, I was still hoping that he was going to say like, oh, you're crazy. Like, this is not stiff person syndrome. There's no way. And you know what I said? I think you're right. You probably have stiff person syndrome. He said that he hasn't seen many patients who had it, but I fit all the criteria. But he said that he also works for NHS Trust, and he's going to see me in the hospital. I wasn't really jumping the queue. I was willing to spend a lot of money just to get MRIs and stuff like that privately.
But thankfully, I think
he was quite excited.
Well, yeah, I think because stiff person syndrome is so rare, he was quite happy to have another case to examine.
Then I got the results back for
the blood test.
For the blood test, and
that was the confirmation that you needed.
Yeah, my antibodies were off the chart. Not everyone's got antibodies. Sometimes it's just a neurological side of it. So this is basically how long it took us. We had to go privately to get diagnosed. I diagnosed myself.
That's also having the funds, the means to actually get these private appointments and say what you need.
Yeah, because it costs us a little bit. The point is that no one cared, no one actually listened. There were like few points that were obviously sticking out, and there were red flags that don't probably happen to normal patients.
I think the problem as well is that you have like 10 minutes with a doctor to be able to tell them things, and they need to try and think of whatever they can in that 10 minutes and then get you out of the door to try and see the next person. That doesn't help.
Yeah. But in this 10 minutes, you're not even being listened to. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that SPS, stiff person syndrome, as rare as it is, it also has very rare symptoms that are completely different to back pain. And I was always told this is back pain. It was just really difficult to get through to people. And if they were listening, there were a few flags that if they were actually, if I could point to that page on NHS that this happened, and this happened, and that is similar to what's happening to stiff person syndrome. And this could actually be just simple blood tests, although the turnaround was really long.
There is a possibility that it could be diagnosed with a blood test.
Yeah. It annoys me even more, the fact that I was bedbound for so long and that no one actually cared to listen, and that the symptoms were very, very obvious for someone who knows what stiff person looks like. And because not many people know, they were not listening. And see, this is like the vicious circle. So if we can get that on the website, hopefully more people will listen Just listen to your patients, doctor. Don't treat us like we're all stupid, because we are not. The first time when I was diagnosed, it was obviously a sense of horror and sense of relief. Relief because finally I could put the name on my disorder. But now, not only I can put name, but I can also say that, hey, I know someone famous who has it. And well, it's not, I mean, like, this is a horrible
Oh
thing.
yeah, it's not good that anyone has it.
It's not good that anyone has it. So, yeah, it took us a long, long time to get to the point where we are now to get diagnosis. The fact is that I relied a lot on my diagnosis of myself and then convincing someone that I've got it. So I convinced Dion. So we don't have good things to say.
No, I mean there have been some positives, but overall there have been a
Really?
lot of negatives.
Which one was positive when it comes to NHS?
Some of the experiences with certain people within the NHS were positive. I think like some of the nurses were very helpful. Even some of the doctors were very helpful.
I really want to say it. I mean, some nurses are really, really fantastic, and I've got one nurse who I would call an angel, because some people call them angels. I've got one nurse who annoyed me so much. There was a guy who called me different species, said that women are different species, and if I want someone to actually clean my ass, that was when I was going for chemo, then he's gonna call his female colleague to clean my ass for me. This one I'll give P45 to. Next video that we're going to make could probably be post-transplant. Yeah, post-transplant. I would also like to talk a little bit more about what I went through with NHS when it comes to certain treatments. If you could tell us your experiences, whether you've got anyone who suffers from SPS. We're not here to give anyone medical advice, but we may give anyone pointers. And tell us what you would like to see more of and would like to hear more of, because the channel is about raising awareness, but also I don't want this to be gloomy all the time. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
And if you made it so far, and yeah, comment what you would like to see, and consider subscribing. That's it. Thanks.